Good morning, students. So in this video we are going to understand the concept of primary key. So what is a primary key? It is a special relational database table column. It is that column which is used to uniquely identify all the records of the table, right? Like for example, in employee table we can have employee ID. Now what are the two main features of this primary key? Now first feature is that with the help of this primary key you can you know uniquely identify a particular column. Like for example, in employee table there can be two employees whose name can be Rahul, but how will we identify the Rahul who's with the help of his employee ID? So the employee whose name is Rahul having the ID 123, if we want to call that employee, so how will we call? With the help of his employee ID, right? Now second feature of primary keys, it contain null. It cannot contain any null value. Null value means you cannot leave that particular field blank. Like for example, there cannot be any employee whose ID is not there. Correct? Now these are the few examples which have been listed here. Like for example, in employee table, employee ID, teacher table, it can be teacher ID, student table, primary key field can be admission number or roll number, and in patient table, patient ID, and so on. I hope you have understood the concept of primary key. Now the second thing is in your table, this is any table. Now in this table, ID, area code, last name, first name, address, phone, these all are called as field, right? They are called as field. And one more thing, they can also be called as what you can call them column names, right? As well as they can also be called as attributes, right? So they help to create the table. They uniquely identify the table. Whereas this complete, these are your rows. Okay, they are called as rows. So how many rows are there in this table? We have two rows. You can see first row and second row. And how many columns are in this table? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So how many columns are there? We have 6 columns. Now another name of rows is called as record, or we can also call it tuple, right? So how many tuples are in this particular table? We can say we are having 2 tuples, right? Now let us move to the next thing topic, which is called as data types. Now what do you mean by a data type in a table? So the data type is formally classified into 4 categories. First is your integer. Now integer, we have tiny int, we have small int, we have integer. This is the most commonly used integer data type, and last is big int. All these data types are classified based on their size. So you can see in tiny int we have 1 byte, small int we have 2 bytes. It occupies the storage space of 2 bytes. Similarly, in integer we have the 4 byte storage space, and big int is above 4 bytes, right? Now next is floating point number. So what do you mean by floating point number? Suppose you want to store this type of number, for example 2.5, 256.72 or 27. So this type of data is used, can be stored in the table with the help of these two data types. So first is decimal. We can call it decimal as well as numeric, or we can also use double or real. So you can see what is the difference between the two. You can see in double or real we can have a maximum of 15 decimal places, right? I hope this is clear. The third data type is text data type, which is usually by default. So if in the paper, if it comes that what is the default data type, sorry, so you will write there varchar, right? Now the second data type is varchar ignore case. What is the difference between both? The difference between both is if you declare a field as varchar, right? So what do you mean by that? If you are storing the name Rahul, capital Rahul, or you are storing small Rahul, they both are different, right? So if you are creating a query and you want to fetch the record of Rahul. So it will give you both the records. Whereas varchar ignore case, it is insensitive version of varchar. It means capital Rahul and small Rahul are same. The next data type is char, right? So char is having a fixed size, right? Fixed length, and it is basically used in the field, for example, credit card numbers. So if we want to store the field which is having credit card number which have fixed digits, like it cannot exceed beyond 15, so we will declare it as char. The next data type is long varchar. Now, what is long varchar? Example, the field of long varchar can be remarks of, a student or patient details, right? So, when you want to write the data, which is of lengthy characters, right? It exceeds beyond 256 characters, then you use long varchar data type. Now let us move to the last category of the data type. This is date and time. So we have three, types of data under date and time. First is date, second is time, and the next is date time, right? We have other data types also, like for example we have boolean. Like for example, if you have a field, for example attendance of the child, right? So you want to write the attendance whether a child is present or not. So if the child is present, you want to declare it as yes, otherwise no. So whenever you have a field which is having two values, either true or false, so it can have the data type of boolean. So when you declare a particular field as boolean, what will happen in the data sheet view? You will see a circle, right? So if it is filled, that means it is, the value is true. If it is unfilled, that means it is false, right? I hope this is clear to everybody. Now let's see a small exercise. In this, we have to write the correct data type for each of the respective field. So ID can be varchar, or you can declare it as char. First name, last name can be varchar. Gender again can be char, right? And date of birth can be date oblique time, right? Then department can be varchar. Similarly, email can be varchar, and address. Address can also be varchar. Now this is very very important. Please understand this. This is called as table navigation toolbar. Sometimes it comes in the paper. So you need to understand these icons. So this icon is basically used for current record, as you can see. This particular area shows that how many records are there in the table. Similarly, these icons are for sorting your records in ascending or descending. This plus sign indicates adding a new record. Similarly, these are used for navigating the record. This is for last record to come to the first record. Sorry. So this is first record, and this is last record, right? And this is previous. This is next. Correct? Now, sorting the data, you can easily sort the data with the help of this area, sort A or B, right? Sort A to Z is ascending. Similarly, Z to A is descending, correct? Now, adding the records in a table, you can see here we can easily add the record with the help of plus sign. This is new record button, right? So I hope you have understood this video, and you can easily now practice tables, right? So in the next video, I will explain you queries.